Good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what time it is? It is time for Conversations with Renee. And if you've been tuning in for a while, which you should be anyway, you know that I always have amazing guests. What do I say, y'all? Because I know a lot of amazing people. So today we're going to talk with my buddy. I mean, listen, we got some little history here. I've been knowing him for half a second for a minute. And you talking
Mhm.
about talented? Like, my brother Carl is in the house. What's up, Carl?
What's up, Renee? How you doing, girl?
I am good. I'm good. Look, we was having some juicy conversation. I was like, hold up, wait a minute now. We going
Yeah.
too fast, right? So
Yep.
yes, Carl, how you been?
I'm good, girl. I just in the I guess they said the third leg of my tour season.
Okay.
And it's been a very blessed and fulfilling year. Once again. Been to Hawaii, been to some other places for the first time this year. So I'm doing well. Can't complain.
I know that's right. Wait a minute, you threw that in there. You talking about the last leg of my tour season. Wait a minute, we're gonna talk about that because like tour,
Hmm.
hold up, right? But
Hmm.
what I was gonna say was, do it get corny every time I'll text you or something and be like, get a drum or something? I just cannot get away from saying that.
Yeah. We just had this like it's like a real type of friendship that it just we pick up everywhere. We always
Absolutely.
pick up from where we left off from. You know what I mean? So uh,
Absolutely. And you know what, Carl, that's what friends are for. Those are real friends, right? I say that all
yes,
the time to people. If you don't talk to somebody, for a minute and you can pick back up where you left off, they're your people. But the ones that you got to talk to every day, y'all got to go do something, you got to get here, you got to get there. Baby, them just people you spending time with. You know what I'm saying?
that's right. That's right. That's right.
That's how
And
I
both
look at it.
in the season, both of our seasons that we met in was very crucial at the time, creatively for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was a blessing to connect like we did. So
And you know what? I ain't even gonna lie. I was thinking, I was like, how did I meet Carl? But I knew it had something to do with music. But the thing about it is, and I'm gonna say this, I can't remember. I think it was Facebook. I saw you doing something musically or whatever, and I kind of reached out or something or another. But
it was
refresh
LinkedIn. It was LinkedIn. And you probably see me. You may have seen me on Facebook, but it was LinkedIn that we actually connected
LinkedIn.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was professional, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
want to say this too. I know that we spent some time with kind of trying to navigate some projects and stuff like that. And I just want to say that that was very instrumental for me to keep going forth too. I know we still haven't done anything yet, but it's still
Yes.
coming, right? Yet.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
it was like you said, it was a crucial time, like you said, musically and artistry wise, but it was a crucial time for me as well because I don't know if you recall, I was married at that time to a musician and a producer. And he wasn't doing anything with me except for discouraging me. He told me I was too old to sing. I didn't really have the voice for the industry. I could only look, this was funny. He told me I could only sing under the anointing. I was like, oh, okay then. But he was
Oh,
like,
okay.
he would he would tell me stuff like, don't quit my day job. Now he would have shows. Was I singing in it? No, I sang in one. But it was funny because I was singing in other bands. I was the lead singer in this like jazz band. I was doing musical plays, singing and stuff. And everybody was always like, "Oh my God, girl, your voice give me chills." Blah blah blah. Only to come home to somebody be like, "I mean, it was all right, but you know." And so I was just like, "Wow." And again, like I said, working with everybody else. And here it is when I went to California, I wound up getting considered for a Grammy and he was hot as chicken grease. Like, why'd you do that project without me? We was married for about 10 years and you
Wow.
told me I couldn't sing. So, you know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
that was a very crucial time, to talk about doing a project with somebody and somebody really not even knowing, but really believing in what they seen and knew that I did or could do. That was a really, you don't know that. That was a very instrumental time for me for that as well.
No, look, the bottom line is that we have to understand that we all have a lane, we
Come
all have a
on.
path to
Come
go,
on.
okay? And that your path is not my path.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? but God's created us and has connected us to be able to help cultivate, nurture, and invest in one another.
Absolutely.
You know, one thing about marriages that they lack of today is really cultivating, nurturing, and investing in.
Mm.
And because it's always about the investment. What can I get, right? What are you giving me from from
Ooh.
financial, from a sexual, whatever the case is. But the bottom line is, what are you pouring into the emotional side of it?
Ooh.
And
Wait a minute,
where when
emotional
those
and
times.
creative side.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially in your case, but the thing about it is that whatever you feed or give, whatever you give something, right, or
Mm-hmm.
feed something, it's going to produce that. So if you're not giving anything, or if you're producing or giving negativity, then that's what's going to produce. A man, whatever man gives to a woman, she's going to amplify. So if he gives her
Ooh.
frustration,
Come on.
she's going to turn into hell. You
Come
know what I
on.
mean?
Come on. Come on with it. See, you
So
coming on in here. You all preaching past the collection plate. Get a drummer
yeah,
some.
yeah, yes, please, please, yes.
But
uh,
you know what's so funny to that though, Carl, is guess what? So he remarried, right? And
mhm.
look, at our show ain't about my ex-husband, but he remarried. And I really believed in his musical gift. Like I encouraged it. I used to tell him, hey, I'm this entrepreneur mind as well. Like you said, what you give a woman, right? I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
listen, they've taken music out of school. I was like, let's invest in a music truck where we have your own business where you go and teach. He plays the guitar, you go and
Mhm.
teach this, right? So you have your own independent contract, right? And just you're an entrepreneur, you get off your 9 to 5, but you're doing what you love and you're pouring into other people. I mean, I was behind him, even though he wasn't behind me. Anyway, he gets remarried and he calls me and he goes, yeah, my wife don't even believe in my music. She always talk about your little music, your little this. And I was like, with all due respect, you're married now. And he was like, she not like you. No, just what you said, Carl. Because we have our own
That's
brand.
right.
I'm Renee.
That's
So
right.
she's not going to be Renee. But again, you married because somebody could invest in you. She was, taking care of you. And I wasn't doing that
Yeah.
anymore. But the thing about it is, that's why I said investing in people's creativity as well. Because a lot of times, Carl, people are stagnant, stifled, depressed, anxious because they're not operating in their gifts in their lane.
No, no. And you're not being fed what you need. It's just like a flower, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said, as you give it water, they said you should talk to the flower, right?
Mm.
I know a lot of folks who may not have a green thumb, but those that
Ouch,
understand where I'm
me.
coming from. Yeah, but those that understand where I'm coming from, it's just like anything else, what you're pouring into.
What
You
you
think about
nurture.
it.
Mm-hmm.
We have 24 hours in a day, okay? And most of the people now, I'm not well, maybe not now because of the furlough and the shutdown, but you have a lot of people who live basically 10 to 12 hours of their day and time on their job.
Yeah.
So if anyone who is creative, who's working in that block of time, how much are they realistically putting into their craft, right?
Facts.
So when no one else has poured into you like that, then it's going to be hard for them to pour into you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was basically what it was. It's like what he wasn't doing, with you. Now he had the taste of his own medicine,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, that's the way our life is. That's the way
That's the
society
way
is now. Everything,
love goes.
yeah,
I break out in
yeah,
song.
exactly.
That's the way love
Yeah,
goes.
exactly, exactly. And everyone has to understand that. No, no one needs to try to sound like this one or that one. We all have our own
Lane.
twist and
Mm-hmm.
and flair. Sorry, lane. And once you understand that, that's why I really give honor to the true producers, as far as black producers that I like
Mm-hmm.
and listening to, like the Jimmy Jam, Terry
Oh
Lewis,
my
the
gosh,
Babyface,
yes.
the L.A.
The
Reid, because
originators. Mm-hmm.
they were able to take their ingredients and still produce something with those
Mm-hmm.
artists. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it wasn't like they were trying to overshadow the artist, but they knew what it was to say, hey, look, we have this machine, we can produce this for you, and be able to still give something that makes people say, wow, man, that's what that was? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And they had their signature sounds,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
signatures, whatever the case was. But you still knew it was their production, but still the artist itself made it amazing. Why? Because they were
Absolutely.
able to walk in who they were, what I mean? And that's just what it is for you, Renee, the time for you to walk in what you are and what you're doing.
Ooh.
It's
Mhm.
it's now, and I met you at a time where that was all in the making,
Yeah, yeah,
and what God needed for me to be there for you at that time and season, that's what I did. And God allowed us to stay connected. We still doing things in our own prospective places and lanes, but at the end of the
absolutely.
day, the work, we still got a work to do.
Yes,
So
we do. Yes, we do. We still have a work to do. And look, it's funny because I don't know if you know this story, right? Because I got 1,000 of them. No, I got zillions of them. But let me tell you. So when you
hmm
came to Georgia, right? And I
hmm
was jamming, and I'm like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? Plus, I felt like I was a big girl because I had navigated through them streets of Georgia yet. So coming down to the amphitheater at that time,
uh,
living ways away, I was like, oh, I'm doing something, right? So call and look, and you gave it to him. And let me tell you, so I don't know if you know, at that concert, this I was sitting in my seat jamming. Well, not sitting in my seat, I was, jamming. And
hmm
this this guy tapped my shoulder and pointed to some money on the ground. So I was like, oh, so I'm thinking maybe it's the lady beside me. She must have, dropped some money or whatever, right?
hmm
So I tapped her and she was like, hey, it's some money right there. She gonna turn to me, Carl, and say, "Oh no, baby, he gave you that money. He just made it rain on you, baby." I was like, "I don't work in Magic City. The heck you throwing me some money?" I'm like, "What?" And he's smiling, kiki like a big old, as my grandma would say, big old Chester cat. I'm like, "What y'all do here in Georgia? Like, just because I'm standing here jamming by myself and looking good, you don't throw me
hmm
no money? Like, what the
Yeah.
what? Out? Did I ever tell you that, Carl?"
No, you never told me that story.
Man, yeah, I tells that story frequently because I was like, I don't know what they do here in Georgia. I don't work for Magic City. Don't want to apply for Magic City. Don't be throwing no money at me. You don't make it rain on me or whatever. I was like,
That's hilarious. But
yeah,
that's the thing about seeing live music and being in a live venue, right? And
nothing like
that was
it.
definitely something that we missed during COVID, man. It was
Yeah,
like just a reality check, for a lot of us in the business, and to be able to still be able to get back out there and and perform and really bring some happiness, to people's lives because everyone's dealing with something, you know what
yes,
I mean? And so we must do our part to really, not only just bring love and harmony to our society, but to also know that it's really what it's an experience. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Music is
really
that
understand.
universal language, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, but I get why people make it like their business to make a trip out of a concert,
Hmm.
or
Oh, me
make a
too, though.
staycation,
Yes, yes, I
what I
do.
mean? So yeah, so that's one thing, and plus, your personality is one that's drawing. No, it does. It draws people. You definitely draw people because of your personality, and that's one of the main things that this industry is missing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
you're
true.
not just dimensional. You know what I mean? So I mean, artistry as far as singing, performing is just one aspect of one aspect of your career. You know what I mean? It's not the
Yeah.
whole picture.
Yeah.
And a lot of people now, a lot of artists don't understand that the importance of what it is to really not necessarily have your hands in everything, but you need to be knowledgeable of what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Absolutely.
And producing and marketing yourself and really what is it that you want to achieve because there's so many. Look, you know how much music is out there.
Oh my gosh. And look, and that's only it's so much music. Like, listen, that's out here, but the you don't people don't realize the music that's underground. Oh my, that's where the good music is.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, there's some stuff I've just discovered. Just I got Shazam on my phone, so it's just
Mhm.
like sometimes I'll be out and something will be playing in a restaurant, whatever I am, or even the airport, and I'll find out, I'll be like, man, I didn't even know about this artist. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
And if he'd have been out since like early 2000s or like 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
like that's how I found out about that group, Internet.
Hmm. Hmm.
They came out with an album like 2015, I think it was. It was a song called "Girl," and I heard it on the radio, and I was like, "Well, who is this?" You know what I mean? And a bunch of young cats that had a vibe, within like that Robert Glasper, type of vibe, as far as concerned. But man, it was just good music. You know what I mean? It's like so much music out there. You know what I mean? So no one has time to get caught up in, um, no one really has a time to get caught up in being in one lane. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
And they keep
no.
shoving this other music down our face, right? Because it's an
Oh
agenda.
Lord.
But like you
Yeah.
said, if you do a little bit more, if if you listen beyond what you hear, you'll find some good music. Now, listen, you talked about some touring and all this stuff, and I'm talking about give the drama some. Call, tell people don't know you like I know you, so tell them what's going on with the drama. Tell them what you do, Cole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this year I'm celebrating 20 years of being in the smooth jazz arena.
Whew, I love jazz.
So I have worked with artists such as rest in peace, Uncle Nick Coleon.
Wow.
I've worked with people like Jeff Cosper, Steve Cole. I got my start in the business with Art Sherrod Jr. and Matt Marshak.
Mm,
Matt Marshak is from Long Island, New York.
mm,
Um, I met Art here in Maryland, byproduct of Texas. And
mhm, mhm,
so between those two artists in '05 and '06, I really got my start with traveling around the country. I've recorded 6 albums with Matt.
wow.
And but I have credit, over 60 projects to my credit since 2000.
Wow.
And I started, of course, a lot of musicians. I started early in the church with my father and his quartet group, and at the age of 5. And I come from the area of Annapolis, Maryland,
Mhm.
um,
And I still
and
love them, y'all. Being from Baltimore, I still love them though.
whatever. But it's all good, yeah. So started in the go-go scene when I was 11 years old, and then from that point, my life has never been the same. Music has been a part of my life since the age of 11.
Wow.
So being in my first real band, at that
Hmm.
age. So during the course of my career, I've worked with groups like the Mighty Clouds of Joy, the Soul Stirrers, the Nightingales. Really came up in the quartet realm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Had a chance to work with Twinkie Clark as well as Richard Smallwood in church
Wow.
events that brought them to the different ministries I was working uh, affiliated with at the time. So
Hmm.
then from that point on, like I said, 2005, I took some downtime from like 99 to about 2002.
Uh-huh.
I was in a low place. Even though I had started like a youth gospel group, I was in a low place really. Really didn't know where I was going in life. Music was my safe haven,
It is.
but it
Yep.
was yeah. But it was one of those things where I was like still finding myself in life. My father had passed away in 1995, and from that point on to about 2001, a lot of my life is kind of like in limbo.
Yeah, no, I get it
Still making
because what happens
connections.
when you lose someone like that, right? Like even I say this, like Carl, this is the reason why this radio station exists because I say this, I gave birth to my son, but he gave life to me in his death. So
Yeah.
him being a performing artist, by the name of Drama, and then my song, being Destiny, it really was just like I was living, I was existing, I was doing things, but it still was not my purpose. It still wasn't operating in my destiny. And so that's where, DOD radio came from, Destiny Over Drama Radio. And
Hmm.
you take that time, like you said, to begin to reflect and to, kind of start searching a little bit deeper into what your purpose is, your destiny, what are you supposed to be doing? And even though you were doing it, it's like, okay, now at what level and how do I connect with it even more? Because now I'm seeing that there's even more to come from this now that I'm sitting and reflecting and kind of dealing with losing a
Yeah.
life
Hmm.
should bring forth life from the people around them. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes they say when you lose a person that, sometimes the family goes under because, that was the glue and they were the glue. No, what happens is, and I learned this in horticulture. You were talking about plants earlier. I learned this in like horticulture class. Of course, a seed germinates. The seed has to
Hmm.
actually die in order for it to bloom into whatever it's going to be. And so that's kind of how, if anybody, for everybody who's listening, um, just an encouragement when someone has passed away. Understand that that seed now is to give was it was broken, or it was it's underground, or it laid to rest for everybody else around them to bloom.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was a wonderful thing that when we first connected, how you was really pouring into um, your daughter.
Hmm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then then you had the grandbaby and that whole development of both of them. What was going on at the time, and
Right.
it was very intriguing to see that process. To
Hmm.
see that in real time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we don't see a lot of young black actresses and actors coming out like we used to. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like the Gary Colemans and the
Yeah.
Websters and group artists like actors
Hmm.
like that. We really don't see a lot of that from an African American perspective like we used to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And truthfully, a lot of those artists come and it's like boom, like, oh, like, hey, okay, who's this artist? And then it's not until like years later or unfortunately they pass and then we find out so much the work and the time
Yeah.
that they put into what they did to develop their craft. So um,
Yeah. So my baby kind
I
of grew up with y'all. Y'all grew up with my baby for for pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But but that foundation of your son and the his passing has always been a driving force for you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You've
Yeah.
always in anything that you've pursued and anything that you've have gone after, you've had him right by your side
Yeah.
because you want to bring awareness to that, not just to for your experience, but those that don't really have an outlet or a safe
Absolutely.
place. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Because there's a lot of people who really don't have a safe place to really express how they feel when they go through a loss.
Absolutely.
And we've seen how a lot of folks in this entertainment business that we're in, take their life because
Yeah.
just that they didn't have a safe place. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We don't know all the details, but the bottom line is somewhere down the line, down the road, they felt that they didn't have a safe place to be able to share or express or get what was out of them, off their chest,
And
figuratively
that is
speaking.
so important for a creative though, Carl. Because if that creative, right, is
Hmm.
like you said, not in a safe space or not able to operate in that purpose, that's exactly what you get. You get substance, you get maybe, drinking, erratic behaviors because it's that
Yes.
outlet that they're not able to, like you said, express or share in a safe space.
Yeah. 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 And we need to understand that we're living in a time where people are more dealing with. They're really, as they say, they're doing a lot of things to ease their pain.
Self-medicate.
You know, yeah, right. They're self-medicating. They're not, they're dealing with it instead of addressing because there's a difference between dealing with something versus addressing
You
it.
better go
You
here
know what
and
I
break
mean?
that down. You better go right
Oh
on ahead
yeah.
and break that down.
No, no. People need to understand that we're living too much in a time where it's easier for us to dwell instead of addressing because why? Because addressing means that we have to what? We have to get to the core of the issue, the
Yep.
problem that's going on.
Yep.
Dealing with it is just that we'll just continue, like you said, self-medicate, do whatever we have to do to get us over the hump for that day,
Mhm.
but then we're facing with it we're right back at it next day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So at some point in time, when are you going to take the time to say, hey, this I have to address this. If I want change, if I want my change, right? If I want my deliverance, I want my
Mhm.
healing, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
want to be set free from that pain. At some point in time, I'm gonna have to address it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But that was
Now,
the big thing. What did Jesus ask the man at the well? Do you want to be whole? Like be what when he asked him the first thing, what did he say, Carl? He was like, well, there's no one to put me in the water. And I love it because in my own head, I make Jesus my homeboy from down in the hood, right? Jesus like, that ain't what I asked you. My
yeah,
question
that's it.
was, do you want to be made whole? Like, I ain't asked you about somebody else around you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, like, yeah, like you alluding the question, sir. Do you want to or not? And again, that's what we have to. really determine. And I tell people, even in this, when they talk to people, I'm like, my family member, or such, or my kid, or my husband, or my whatever, they won't come to Christ, or they won't do this. And I'm like, hey, check this out. Stop trying to beat somebody's will. Right? You can just really be ministered to them. You can be mindful. You can be loving. You can be supportive, and let them make that choice. Because what's that old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. Stop trying to make people drink stuff. Stop shoving stuff, even when it comes down to scripture and everything. Stop
Yeah.
shoving stuff down people's throat. If you live in such a way that they see what you say, then guess what? They'll be more apt to go ahead on and make some decisions and changes or whatever. But if all they're getting is your word, and your word is not your walk or your lifestyle, ain't nobody following you or God.
No, and that's what's different with this new generation. This new generation of Christians and folks that are believers, they're very big on the walk.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a long time ago, a friend of mine shared a dream, a vision that God given her about seeing a young brother with just a white t-shirt and jeans on in front of a congregation. And she basically broke down the dream that God was about to strip a lot of people down to the
Mm-hmm.
bare. Like the new generation of believers are not going to be caught up in the
Nope.
facade of what we've been accustomed to or what we've been conditioned to believe and see. And that's
Yeah,
one
ain't
thing that
nobody
we have.
singing, I'm coming up
Well, no,
on the rough side. Ain't nobody trying to hear
well,
that no
but
more.
some of that has to do with the disconnect with our community as well, because our fight has never been over. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that now we're constantly having to pull back instead of moving forward, and that's the problem with our community. Look what happens in the entertainment or the sports field, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most of the brothers and sisters, and especially now the sisters are coming into their own, but especially for the brothers, they come in, they're having to what reach back
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
instead of what pay it forward, right? So
Right.
now I'm coming in, I may have got a $10 million advancement, but now I'm trying to pay mamas them credit off.
Ooh.
If I got six siblings, now everybody in my face about what they want, what they need,
Ooh.
and I haven't even put one ball through a hoop or ran a touchdown for nobody. So
Wait,
so
see,
it
you
comes
making
down.
me think of this famous line when Fantasia had her reality show. I remember her brother saying, "You ain't been the same since you won America Idol, Tasia." And it was like, because she was
Hmm.
taking care, like you said, she had to reach back and take care. And then it got to a point where it was like, hey, I can't even take care of myself because I'm taking care of everybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
And this is the thing. If we're not, like you said, if we're not showing the importance of what it is to take care of our health,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
take care of our finances, to take care of our social being, things of our emotional being, when
Mm-hmm.
we're not seeing that stuff on the regular, all we're doing is just really all we're doing is just basically trying to fill a void. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's too many of us in our community are pouring into bottomless cups.
Ooh, I just had
And
that conversation with somebody the other day. Yup.
yeah, yeah. So we're doing it in relationships, we're doing it in education, we're doing it in our finances, we're doing it in our spiritual walk.
Mm.
We're pouring a lot of ourselves into bottomless cups. And so at the end of the day, when we go back to what maybe try to retrieve that cup or go back for a sip, it's
It's
nothing
empty.
there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we have to be very mindful now. I believe that we have lost touch of what it is to build a firm foundation in Christ. And,
Ooh,
and
yeah,
it's not about the hooping and hollering and speaking in tongues. It's just about having a firm foundation and believing that, knowing that when you say, God, I'm giving this to you. Cast your
absolutely.
cares on him, right? Your burdens on him, and he'll give you peace and rest. I'm paraphrasing, but the scripture, it speaks for itself that we
Hmm.
we have we are constantly carrying luggage that we should not be carrying.
Yeah,
Okay.
his cross, yeah, but his yoke is easy and burdens is light. And you went here for a minute because I do want to go here. You said this generation right now is they're more apt to looking at our walk than the talk, right? And I'm saying that because when we got to be, I don't want to say we better be careful, but it goes to this right here too. Now we have gotten the building called church to modify itself and water down the power so that it looks like the world so that the world can come in. But people are looking for different. They're not looking for to be able to go to the club and then come into your building called church and still it be the same thing. There is no distinction, there's no differentiation. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like there has to be real people living real lives so that other real people can really get what it. The Bible says that people are won over by the words of your testimony and the blood of the Lamb. So when you're talking about overcoming, when you're talking about how you're thriving past such and such, that's more of a message than somebody on Sunday using big words that you got to exegete and they went to seminary for. And you thinking the average, person, right? Not to discredit our education or our academics or our intelligence, but the average person, they didn't go to seminary, so they don't know what you're exegeting. They don't know, your hermeneutics. They don't know all of that stuff. So at the end of the day,
Hmm.
they came in and for 2.5 hours really either was entertained by the choir and or the musicians and stuff, and then they spent another 45 minutes of just kind of sitting there, and nothing was grabbed or they didn't grasp anything because you really didn't give them anything different. They just kind of just did their duty. You understand what I'm saying? And the people that are out here, they want real stories. They want real people who live in real lives to be able um to like relate to. You know what I mean?
Well, also too, I mean, some of it's real ignorance too. Some
Yeah,
is real
absolutely.
ignorant. It's
Absolutely.
not even just about keeping it real, but it's just I never thought I would see a time where ignorance, it's like they say, ignorance is bliss, right? But me, when it comes down to how we gravitate to ignorance and foolishness in our society
Mm-hmm.
and want to make that the norm, like what is happening in our society where we believe it's more important to be in pajamas than actually get
Oh
up,
my
iron some
goodness.
clothes,
Oh,
and go and wherever you're going to look like something. It has nothing to do with being white. It has nothing
oh,
about being proper. It's just the bottom line is that we as people, we come from royalty. You know what I'm
yes.
saying? That we come from a place of royalty, a place of distinction and character. Our character, everything we've ever been about was always on 1,000, not just
Oh,
100, but on 1,000.
yeah.
So why has it over this last 30, going on 40 years now, we've seen this dumbing down of our community?
Oh my
Because
goodness.
why?
Yes.
Because wait, because I'm about to really start some fire now,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to acknowledge the fact that these babies are having babies.
Mm.
So a lot of these babies are not growing up to even evolve into what they want to do or what God may have for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is that now you're bringing in a child, another life that now has to find, now the level of your success is only 16 or 17. So how much of life are you going to teach this child?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, the brokenness of the home because the abandonment of fathers and mothers.
Yep.
So
Come
let's
on. I'm
stop this.
glad you said and mothers. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So let's stop this foolishness of it's always about the men, because you got men who actually want to be fathers,
Yep.
but you got these sisters that are push them away because of the issues that they had with the father. So
Mm-hmm.
now the child suffers and all of that. You
And
know what I
on
mean?
look and check this out. When I say absent parent, I always specify because I know many males that are associates and friends that are raising their children on their own. So it's not like you said, it's not just the abandonment of the man, right? The absent parent can be either the mother or the father. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
we we
yeah.
we,
And
we,
then
we
we have and then the lack of community too, Renee, because even with because I'm trying to make sure I cross, all T's and dot every I, because there are a lot of people may listen and say, well, but there's still people in the community. That's right, but we're lacking even those folks in the community now,
yeah,
because
yeah.
those folks now, like I said, once again, I have my child. Let's just say, I'm just saying, I'm not me, but I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm,
giving you an example. A person has a child at 15 or 16, right?
mm-hmm,
Now, 16 years later, that person's what, 32 years old, right?
mm-hmm, hmm.
But most of their life getting to that 32 was what, raising that child. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
So now the level of expertise and knowledge and advice that child or that parent can give to that child or even the community is very lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like we used to back in the day, I listened to my elders. It didn't have to
Right.
be the ones in my home. It was Mr. Such and such. It was I saw, like you was talking about earlier, what we see. I saw every morning the men in my family, in my cul-de-sac where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting up, going to work. Sometimes they may have their wife in the car. He was taking her to drop her off, or she was a home mother. She was a
Mm-hmm. Stay at
she
home
was
mom. Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
stay-at-home mother, things of that nature. But she took care of home.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Not this foolishness we see today about, I ain't doing nothing, I ain't cooking nothing, I ain't wait, hold on. How are we working with each other? You know what I mean?
Absolute. Look,
Because
absolutely.
we took pride and we understood that. So
But
if the
wait, wait,
women are
wait,
not,
wait. We said something, Carl. We took pride. Now we're just prideful.
yeah, because think about this. Think about the generation of women in your family and what trickled down, the knowledge and things that they taught you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of times we don't even talk about this because we always want to be so spiritual. But even to what it is to truly teach intimacy in our community and understand what true intimacy is. We have dummied down everything, Renee,
Oh my
and
gosh,
don't
we have.
realize that true intimacy really has nothing to do with the bedroom.
We
You know what
have
I mean?
dummied down uh intellect so bad that we just got dummies. I mean, I'm just gonna go here and say it. You know what I'm saying? Like we really do. And the Bible talks about in this hour we will have people, we have young ones who are wiser but weaker. We missed the mark with translating, giving them what they needed instead of
Hmm.
giving them what they wanted. So yeah, you have a 2 year
Yeah.
old, and I know I'm exaggerating, but you may have a 2 year old. Well, no, I'm not, because I've seen it on. You got a 2 year old that you can give an iPhone and they know how to work it and find apps and all that stuff, right? But it's
Yes.
raining
Yeah.
outside and they're still standing outside with no coat, no hat, no nothing. You know what I mean? Because it's just like my mother used to say, you ain't got good common sense to come in out the rain. No, they lack that because honestly, we're teaching them the technology, but we're not teaching them survival skills. We're not teaching them living skills. We're not teaching them what we were talking about early, how to eat, how to make sure that they take care of their temple. Those things are getting lost because now it's like, you know what? If you're an influencer, if you've got money, if you're an athlete, if you're an entertainer, if you got a lot of followers, then that means power and things of that nature. But you've got all those people, not all, but you have many of those people who are miserable even with the money. What Biggie say, more money, more problems.
Yeah, because honestly, it's the true essence of what people's lives are. It's really it's a fantasy. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They don't know what it is to really work. They don't know what it is to having to find a ride to work, because you know why? Because they got Uber now,
Oh my
they got
gosh.
Lyft now, right? I know what it was to get up and knowing I had a rehearsal down. I lived in Brownswood, so Bestgate Road was like over by the mall. But I knew if rehearsal was at 4 o'clock, I was gonna if I didn't have a ride, I was gonna have to start walking at 12 to get there at 4.
I know that's right. That's real talk right there. Real talk. Call, listen. I know you got some things cooking, and I can't wait for us to get together and do some things. But I do. I want to thank you for the conversation we was able to have this morning. I know people got a lot from that. And just do me a favor. Y'all gonna see Call's face pop up, as on the station and everything. Reach out to him because this man has a wealth of knowledge as well. And check out where he's touring so you can go and see, while I'm always saying, give the drummer some. So, Carl, thank you this morning for being on DOD with me.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so happy for your success and what you're doing. And like I've always said to you, man, continue to be great and continue to do what God's called you to do.
I really appreciate you. All right, y'all. Listen, you got to stay tuned because you've got Fact of the Matter. And then, of course, you've got good music 24/7 here on Destiny Over Drama, DOD Radio Network. This is the station for your best self, your best life. This is Best Radio. Say that and that part.